What's going on, Dodgers Nation? D-Mac here. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMac_LA. Should the Dodgers trade for Tim Anderson? What would it take for them to trade for Tim Anderson? We're going to dive into that in just a second. But quick reminder for all things Dodger baseball all season long, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and if you really want to support the channel, smash that like button. And as always, I want your takes down below in the comments section. Today's Dodgers Nation question of the day: do you want to see the Dodgers pursue a trade for White Sox All-Star shortstop Tim Anderson? Let me know down below. And for all latest Dodgers news, head over to DodgersNation.com. So if you've been watching this show for quite some time, you know that I'm a pretty big fan of Chicago White Sox All-Star shortstop Tim Anderson. He's a great hitter. He plays with passion. He plays with fire. And I think he would be a good addition to this team under the right circumstances. Well, recently, Bleacher Report's MLB analyst Joe Reuter, he predicted that the Dodgers would swing a trade for TA this season. In his trade proposal, he has the Dodgers getting Tim Anderson and the Dodgers trading to the White Sox second baseman Michael Busch, right-handed pitcher Landon Knack, outfielder Jose Ramos, and right-handed pitcher Joel Ibarra. If you look at that package for the Dodgers, they're getting Tim Anderson. If you look at that package from the White Sox point of view, they're getting the Dodgers number 4, number 20, number 23, and Ibarra isn't in their top 30. But that is a pretty nice package for the White Sox. I think it would require more, though. I think when you consider the fact that the White Sox, they haven't made any indication that they're willing to part ways with Anderson, that you're going to have to really give them a Godfather offer. Because one, Tim Anderson's a great player, and two, the Dodgers don't have a lot of leverage right now. After Gavin Lux went down with that season-ending knee injury, teams out there realize that, hey, if this Dodgers team is looking to bolster their infield, if they're looking to add guys, we're in a good spot to win the trade as far as value goes, as far as trying to get a few extra prospects, some higher prospects. So the Dodgers know that. Teams around the league know that. So it would have to be a situation where the White Sox were looking to move Tim Anderson. And in the offseason, Ken Rosenthal, he reported that the Chicago White Sox had no plans of trading Tim Anderson and that the White Sox plan to keep him and maintain a, quote, short-term focus on success. So I'm sorry to throw some cold water on your Tim Anderson to the Dodgers trade hopes, but the White Sox, as of right now, they're looking to compete in 2023. It's no secret that their owner, Jerry Reinsdorf, is on a mission to pursue another World Series title. He brought back Tony La Russa because he thought that he would help him accomplish that. But still, as of right now, they're not ready for a full rebuild. And the other thing, too, is Tim Anderson, if he's healthy, he's one of the best value contracts in the league. As expected this offseason, the White Sox picked up his $12.5 million club option for the 2023 season, and he still has a $14 million club option for 2024. So you're talking about one of the better hitters in the game, an all-star shortstop for just over $26 million for 2 seasons. That is great value for a guy like Tim Anderson, so you also have to consider that. The prospect capital to bring in a guy like that not only is a great player, but is under a team-friendly contract, that is going to raise the price of Tim Anderson that much more, because some teams wouldn't be able to afford an all-star player like Tim Anderson, but at that contract, there's a lot of teams that would be interested. So if the White Sox made him available, they could create a little bit of a bidding war for him. And so if you're a Dodger fan that wants to see him in Dodger blue, you have to hope that the White Sox come to the conclusion that they're ready to enter a rebuild, that they're not as gung-ho on going for it this season, and that they want to replenish that farm system. So the first thing you're really going to need is for the White Sox to get off to a slow start, for them not to be legitimate contenders in the Central, legitimate World Series contenders, and really part ways with the Tim Anderson. Because look, TA is a strong personality. He's very passionate. He got suspended a few games for running into an umpire, making contact with an umpire. You know, he's had his disagreements with Tony La Russa. Maybe they say to themselves, hey, it's time to move on in Chicago, because if they lose, he's going to be very frustrated. He wants to be on a win-now type of team, so that's another thing to consider. Now, the next question is Tim Anderson a good fit fit for the Dodgers? Well, first, let's take a look at what he brings as a player, because last year it looked like he was primed to have a career year. He got off to a hot start. Well, unfortunately, he suffered injuries that forced him to miss significant time. Anderson suffered a strained groin against the Cubs and was placed on the injured list on May 29th, and in total missed 83 games during the 2022 season. And the injury really sapped him of his power. If you look at his power numbers, they were the worst of his career. His ISO power was at 93, down from 159 in 2021, down from 207 in 2020. If you look at his home run total, he had 6 home runs and 351 plate appearances. And he's not a guy that's going to hit 20 or 30 bombs. That's just not his game. But still, the extra bases were down. His swing didn't look the same, and he just wasn't as explosive in the box. Now, in 79 games, if you look at his numbers, they do appear impressive. He slashed 301, 339, 395, had those 6 home runs, 25 RBIs, and 13 stolen bases. But in the second half of the season, those numbers declined precipitously. He had a 259 batting average, a 257 WOBA, and you saw his production just was not the same. And he was frustrated. He told reporters last year, "I kind of understood the process. I kept working, tried to get in the best position to get back healthy, but just couldn't quite get there." Now, the White Sox ended up shutting him down for the season in August after he suffered a torn ligament in his finger, and that put an end to what was a very frustrating season for Anderson, who just couldn't get and stay healthy. Now, would he fit in this Dodgers lineup? Well, the first thing you look at is where would he bat in the order, because Tim Anderson is a leadoff hitter, and the Dodgers have Mookie Betts currently as their leadoff hitter. Now, Mookie has sort of hinted at the fact that it wouldn't be as important for him to bat leadoff now, and I think that he's given indications that he is open to moving down in the order. And when you look at the home runs that Mookie hit last season, he hit 35 bombs last year. He added 9 pounds of muscle this offseason. Maybe you do consider moving Mookie down in the order and have him be more of a run producer if you do acquire a Tim Anderson. So for fun, I do think that the lineup would consist of Tim Anderson as the leadoff hitter, and then Mookie you'd see down there maybe in the 3-hole, maybe even hitting cleanup, but you still would see Mookie there towards the top of the order. I think a lot would depend on, 1, how well is JD Martinez hitting, 2, how well is Max Muncy hitting, and 3, is Will Smith continuing to emerge, and is he going to be batting in that 3-hole, because that is what Dave Roberts has hinted at as far as his lineup. But this is all hypothetical. This is just a little thought exercise if the Dodgers were to acquire Tim Anderson. So if they did pull off a trade for him, you don't trade for Tim Anderson unless you're going to bat him leadoff, and that's where he would place in the lineup. And now the biggest benefit for trading for Tim Anderson would be his ability as a hitter. He would be an upgrade to Miguel Rojas offensively. Last season, even with his power numbers down, he still had a 110 WRC+. So his bat was 10% above league average. You compare that to Miguel Rojas, who dealt with his own injuries last season. He had a 73 WRC+, which was 27% below league average. He's been a below average bat throughout his career. So let's say you trade for Tim Anderson. He's in a better lineup. He's feeling better. He's on a contender, and he's healthy. Maybe you see him as a 120 or 125 WRC+ player. And if you look at some of his predictive stats, there are some numbers that do point to him having a better year last year. There's also some point to him maybe having some regression. He had a 347 batting average on balls in play, but if you look at some of his StatCast metrics, he was in the 99th percentile in expected batting average, the 74th percentile in expected slug, the 57th percentile in hard hit percentage, the 78th percentile in expected WOBA. Doesn't strike out a lot, was in the 84th percentile in strikeout rate. So he's the guy that can absolutely provide a different dynamic, a different element with him at the top of the order. Now, defensively speaking, he's not a glove-first shortstop. We know that about Tim Anderson. Last season, he was in the 27th percentile in outs above average, the 39th percentile in arm strength, had a -7 defensive runs saved. For his career, he has a -16 defensive runs saved. So he is definitely a downgrade from Miguel Rojas defensively, but that's, like we said earlier, not why you would trade for Tim Anderson. And you see him playing for USA Baseball. He's playing the Keystone. He's at second base, and that's currently where Miguel Vargas is. And we know the Dodgers are going to give Miguel Vargas the runway at second base. We know that they believe in him as a guy that's going to be a core member of this team's future. So as far as fit goes, if you did trade for Tim Anderson, Anderson, you would plug him in at shortstop and have Miguel Rojas go back to the role that he was originally going to have, where he was going to be a utility infielder that was going to cover at different spots. He was going to spell guys. He could even play some first base if they want to give Freddie Freeman a day off. So you would have Tim Anderson at shortstop. You would have Miguel Vargas at second, Muncy at third, and Freddie at first. So fit-wise, you would have him as your shortstop. Miguel Rojas goes back to the bench and plays the role that the Dodgers originally expected him to play. And also, he gives you some coverage if, let's say, Miguel Vargas gets injured or he struggles. You can play him at second and then Rojas at shortstop. And then the other big question is, what would this mean for the 2024 season? Now we're looking way ahead on a trade that hasn't been made, but hey, let's break it down, because the Dodgers have a $10 million club option for Max Muncy in the 2024 season. And if Gavin Lux returns from injury and they want to give him another opportunity to be the Dodgers starting shortstop, then what do you do with Tim Anderson, who has that $14 million club option, who the Dodgers would likely pick up if they traded for him? Well, you could either A, not pick up Max Muncy's $10 million club option, but I think Muncy's going to have a bounce back year. I've already predicted that he's going to hit 30-plus home runs, and at $10 million, when you consider his position of versatility, when you consider that he's been the Dodgers' most prolific slugger since he put on that uniform, I think they'll bring Max Muncy back. Now, if he struggles this year and the Dodgers want to go in a different direction and they want to possibly have Miguel Vargas play third, and then you move Tim Anderson to second and then Lux at short, that is another option you could have. So it really all just depends on if the Dodgers want to go all in on a Tim Anderson move. And what makes it really interesting is that other year of team control. He's not just a pure rental. He's more of a Trey Turner type, where you get him for the rest of this season from whatever they would trade for him, and then you get him for next season after you pick up that club option. So he's not the perfect player. He's an interesting player. I think defensively, like I said, he leaves a lot to be desired, but he brings those intangibles: leadership, fire, passion. He's a marketable player. He's very popular amongst fans. And then also at the plate, he brings this offense another dimension. So yeah, it's an interesting idea. He's a guy that could be him Anderson for LA. And who knows, maybe Mookie's talking to him right now for Team USA at the WBC, trying to fill things out. Because you know, if Mookie went to the organization and said, hey, I want Tim Anderson on my team, this organization, they bend over backwards for their superstars. And I think that would be a factor if they wanted to go that route. And a few more things on Michael Busch. When you talk to people in the know, they'll tell you that, hey, Michael Busch is a guy that really is blocked in this Dodgers organization. When you consider the logjam around the infield and the fact that he's already closer to 30 than he is to 20, he's probably one of the more expendable Dodgers prospects that are right at the top. Of their elite prospects, he's probably the one they're most likely to part ways with if they do want to go out there and make a trade, just because they don't have a defined role, a defined spot for him. And look, at some point, you owe it to the player to give them an opportunity to really see what they can do at the big league level. So if Michael Busch got traded to a team that is going to have a bigger role for him, being moved wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for Michael Busch. But let me know down below in the comment section, do you want to see the Dodgers pursue a trade for White Sox All-Star shortstop Tim Anderson? Who would you be willing to give up? Let me know down below. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMac_LA. For all latest Dodgers news and rumors all season long, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. And if you want to see us post even more Dodgers content, you really want to support the channel, smash that like button. And as always, think blue, bleed blue, and I'm out.